Hi, I'm Scott Meister. I'm third generation president of Meister Cheese Company.
I'm Alex Meister, fourth generation family member of Meister Cheese Company and Muscoda protein products.
The cheese we make at Meister, it's all considered the American category, which is cheddar and Monterey Jack and Colby, and we make a lot of unique flavored cheeses. Today we're a good mid-sized manufacturer of all-natural cheese here in southwest Wisconsin. We're up to 170 employees. The vast majority of them live within a 10 to 20 mile radius of Muscoda. We have become a pretty significant employer in our community and are very proud of the workforce that comes locally. We've been around since 1916 when my grandfather started making cheese here in southwest Wisconsin. My father came back from the service and started making cheese with his father and got us established here in Muscoda, where he built a plant in 1976 for making cheddar cheese. In the 90s and 2000s, we grew rapidly in cheese production and in whey processing.
And coming back here full-time and joining the family business, I started speaking with my father, Scott, and he was sharing with me what's got us here today is sustainability.
I've heard the term one time, logical environmentalism, and that certainly held true as my dad started increasing cheese production. You can imagine the more cheese you make, the more whey you have to deal with. So my father built a whey processing plant in 1981. Which was very novel for the time. And at the whey processing plant, we refine the components of the whey for nutritional supplements for the nutrition industry.
So it's kind of always been turning that byproduct into something useful.
We've continued in my father's footsteps on sustainability. For example, we're in the unglaciated area of southwest Wisconsin, and the forest products industry is very prevalent. One of their byproducts are wood chips. And in the mid-90s, we put in a specialized boiler system that uses those wood chips as the fuel source for generating the steam that we need for cheese and whey production. So we're actually displacing carbon fuels with a renewable resource from the surrounding forests.
Sustainability to us is kind of the first step in looking at how we should detail out our plan. If it's not going to be a sustainable plan from an operations side, then the operations side isn't going to be following that.
So a big part of making high quality cheese and dairy products is the sanitation, of course. We want impeccably clean equipment every day after the production. So we generate a fair amount of wastewater. And as our company grew, we had to expand our capacity for treating the wastewater.
Instead of just saying, hey, let's put this on a farmer's field, maybe in years past, no, let's take the next steps. We can find a way to truly treat this water, return it as clean water.
Now in our case, upon a thorough due diligence, we settled upon a system that uses anaerobic digestion, and the byproduct of that process is methane gas. So we take that methane gas and we fuel an internal combustion engine, which is turning an electric generator. So in a nutshell, we're producing electricity from our wastewater. We send the wastewater out here, and it's got about 20 days retention in these anaerobic lagoons. Mother Nature really does the bulk of the work. There are naturally occurring microbes in the wastewater, and as they digest the nitrogen or the energy that's left over in the wastewater, the byproduct without oxygen is methane gas. So we capture that methane gas underneath these covers. It's strategically drawn to this vacuum side of the lagoon. From there it goes to a gas treatment system to purify the gas and prepare it for being processed in an internal combustion engine, which drives an electric generator. So we're producing electricity. We are first using the electricity to power the energy systems in the treatment plant here, and the residual is connected to the power grid so that we can sell it back on the grid. From here, the pre-treated wastewater goes to our secondary system, which actually is an aerobic system. And there we're actually injecting air through the bottom of the retention tank, and with oxygen we get a thorough treatment of the remaining nitrogen that's in the wastewater. From there it goes to a clarifier to remove the residual microbes, if you will, and what we're left is fairly pure water. In our case, we take that treated water and it is piped underground back to a different location where we simply let it drain out through a sand lagoon. It simply filters away and into the groundwater. Obviously, it's efficient and it's generating energy from a renewable resource. We're offsetting carbon fuels by the production of gas from this natural process. So this is Cory Hernan. He's been running this plant for us since it was built, and he can give you more detail about the operation and the performance of the system.
So you have the two plants, the protein and the cheese side over there. The raw waste is actually pumped probably about a mile and first enters the digester, which then the bacteria destroy the COD and produces methane. Currently, we are running about 13,000 to 14,000 pounds of COD per day. So the destruction through this digester right now is currently around 85%. So it reduces it down to a minimal for the aeration side to reduce to polish our clean water for the seepage cell. So the methane that we're producing right now is about 8 cubic feet per minute currently. So obviously you see the lagoons that are blowing up here kind of like a balloon. That's extra gas that the generator is not burning right now. So it's actually currently running really well. We're producing more. We could turn the generator up to make more kilowatt hours. We actually have a gas conditioning system here. And then on the right, of course, we have the generator. So the generator produces heat. We are reclaiming every bit of heat that we can get off this generator. We are getting the heat off the exhaust. We are getting heat off the glycol from the coolant of the engine. And as you can see, this jacket water, so we heat that water up as hot as we can get with whatever energy that we're producing from this generator. That water then goes into the building and goes through a heat exchanger, which is not in direct contact with the wastewater from the digester. And then it heats that up and it keeps the system heated through the winter. So it actually heats it up and it's keeping our organisms happy. They like heat, 95 degrees. That is perfect temperature for these guys. With the gas production, you have raw gas that comes off the digesters. The first thing it does is it actually goes through this tower right here. This removes the H2S. Of course, you do not want H2S going through any engine because it's so corrosive. That's what this system, this tower right here, this is called a scrubber. It actually has like little pellets. You know, if you see the wood pellet furnaces nowadays, are real small pellets. That's actually what's inside these, and it removes the H2S. And then from there, what it does is it goes through a chiller. So it conditions that gas, cools it down, turns it into a more burnable gas for the generator. And then of course we have the generator, which primarily takes all the gas. We use everything we can. After it makes this 20-day retention time through the lagoons, the lagoon effluent then comes to the aerobic side, which is the aeration tank you see right here. It holds maybe 1.7 million gallons of product. So what's going on now is we're just taking that little bit of food that the lagoon did not digest. The lagoons are running probably about 85% right now. So if we're sending 13 to 14,000 pounds per day into the lagoon, this is getting maybe 3 to 4,000 pounds. So what this does is we use aerated system. This actually ties up the soluble COD. So you're talking your sugars, your proteins, all that organic food. The inorganic food, which the bugs will flock, cause a solid ball almost like, so that it can separate itself from the clear water, which is what this thing does, is it's called the clarifier. So the product from the aeration through the flock tank, which is added with the little chemicals, goes to the center well of the clarifier. That's where you have your separations from your solids to your clear water. That's how you get your water that we send to the seepage cells. So actually the bugs create that flock to help separate. Now when I'm talking about bugs, I am referring to the little microscopic living cells that are doing actually all the work in this system. So that's how these processes work. You can see a little mechanical, but the most part is all organisms. We are here at the seepage cell, which receives all the treated clear water from the treatment plant. So this would be our effluent. This is the clean water that basically comes down. We have 4 cells here. They're all sand. It's just basically a big filter. So the clean water comes down, filters through the soil, and basically goes into the groundwater. So every gallon of water that we use, we basically recycle it back to the groundwater. We do a rest and cycle, so it's just a repeat. We'll use them for maybe a week, shut them off for a week. We'll do some tilling, let them dry out. And while these ones drying out, then we'll use another one. All we do is basically rotate them through the summer and through the winter. just so we get kind of a balance, so we're not overloading one cell, just so we make sure we have a good filtration. You know, this area alongside the Wisconsin River is perfect. It's a natural filter, sand is, and it does a great job. So overall flow is probably about 500 to 550,000 gallons per day we get down here. So there's quite a bit of water that is being, recycled. So that's what these seepage cells consist of.
These projects are big and challenging, and certainly not within our wheelhouse. We're cheesemakers first, but when we decided it was the right thing to do for our company, we went seeking resources to help us figure out the right technologies, the right vendors. Once we started investigating the options, we quickly engaged with WPPI and Muscoda Utilities because we knew they would have resources, especially on these energy conservation projects. Certainly, it takes a team to do projects like this, both internally and outside vendors.
So basically the first step in sustainability isn't just doing it for a great story for our customer, it's truly doing it because that's what we believe in and care about. Sustainability as a core, it's not just a page on your website, it's everyday practices.
We implemented the technologies we did not only because it's economically logical, it's environmentally logical. It's the right thing to do for the environment, for our local economy. These facilities we've installed should last 25 to 50 years and save on energy the entire time or produce energy that entire time as well.
There's obviously many options when deciding the next move or expansion, but I think always one of the big pictures in that is what does it do for our environment? I mean, if we want to keep growing our company generationally, then we need to care about our sustainable practices. Like our director of operations, he's looking how can we utilize heat exchangers within the pasteurization of milk to reduce energy. When you take in milk, water is a heavy component within any milk truck that arrives. How can we use clean water that's pulled off of milk? How can we utilize any sources of energy to help offset our impact? For myself, the vision for Meister Cheese in the future isn't really reinventing the wheel. I'm very proud to understand that my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father truly care about sustainability and focusing on that in expansions. And I'll just continue building off of what they've started, and I want to continue to be a part of that story and build that next chapter.